Confidential conversations are underway about whether Stanford should pursue conference realignment, the university president said. This is in the Stanford Daily. That was just released this morning by Jonathan Cosgrove. Before we get into this major breaking story, I want you to please consider to smash that like button if you like our content. Please subscribe to our ever-growing channel, and please share the video with your friends and family. And I know you're going to have plenty of comments in regards to the Stanford Daily article. Please put them down in the comment section below the video. I read all the comments. Let's not waste any time. Let's get to this big breaking story. Now, before I proceed, I know many of you have read this story or are about to read this story. I know that some people use the term conference realignment in place of conference expansion. I get that. In fact, I would argue that the University of Stanford president is going two tracks here, talking about two different tracks in regards to the University of Stanford. First of all, he's talking about Pac-12, looking at getting a new media deal and what's best for those 9 universities, including Stanford. But he's also looking at external. They're having conversations. They've always had conversations. They've been having conversations with the Big Ten since all the way back to July 1st, as we reported here at Peek Around the Corner. Let's get into this article. Okay? We're not going to go through the whole thing. The first paragraph, confidential conversations are underway about whether Stanford should pursue conference realignment, the university president said at Thursday faculty senate meeting. Confidential conversations are underway. Okay. That could be about Pac-12s looking at, getting that media deal signed first and then seeing if they can expand the conference with San Diego State plus somebody else, right? But I think it's much more than that. Give me a chance to explain to you why I think that. Let's go further into the article. There's a lot happening behind closed doors right now, said the Stanford president. I'm not at liberty to divulge those except to say that the 10 universities are focused on working with our commissioner to strike a deal that would be good for the conference, but more importantly, good for our student athletes. To strike a deal that's good for their student athletes. At the same meeting, civil and environmental engineering professor Jeff Kosseff, the faculty athletic representative, discussed the state of the university athletic program, including some of the significant challenges and changes facing collegiate athletics nationwide. So in the same meeting that Jeff Kosseff, he discussed this. He said his role includes making sure athletics are able to participate fully in both their academic and athletic pursuits while at Stanford. Okay? It's a very big operation, he says. Stanford has 36 sports for scholarship, the second highest in the country after Ohio State, 37. Kosseff in this article also goes on to say Stanford is a national leader in intercollegiate athletics. We have won more national championships, and our graduation rates are the highest in the country. Our athletes graduate. They go out. They make an impact in society. Kosseff added, excellence in athletics is part and parcel of what defines Stanford. It's part of our culture and fabric. That is what we've been saying here at Peek Around the Corner. These athletic departments for these major universities are the front porch to the university. They're vitally important to the branding of what trying to attract students to come to the university. So it's a big deal. We continue in the article. However, the financial overview revealed that the athletics department is running a financial loss. The income and the expenses do not match, Kosseff said. It's something that we're actively working on. Kosseff pointed out that the $40 million is derived from the Pac-12 through media rights and March Madness and bowl tie-ins and college football playoffs. And even with all that, the Pac-12's conference payouts per school doesn't quite reach $40 million, but he's using a round number. That's fine. Kosseff says this large sum should be what drives a lot of the decision making going forward. That's the key part of this whole article. Kosseff, this $40 million being so far behind the Big Ten and the SEC, this is what should drive our major decisions going forward. Back to the article. In terms of the national landscape, there are shifting allegiances. USC and UCLA left for the Pac-12. They're going to join the Big Ten. The Since this move, conference realignment has been the topic of consideration among Stanford's administration. According to Kasef, schools in the Big Ten make significantly more than the media rights, which could result in an extra $50 million. It has enormous consequences for student athletes, so it's not an issue that can be taken lightly. He then explained, the Stanford University president added that the Stanford authorized its commissioner to open media rights negotiations, right? So Stanford's president has said, Commissioner Pac-12, go ahead and open up media rights negotiations. Of course, that happened a while ago. The president then said, he then explained Stanford's parameters in making a conference change decision. And now that could be internal in the Pac-12, or that could be Stanford looking at joining the Big Ten. From a Stanford's point of view, he didn't say Pac-12 point of view. From a Stanford point of view, what we want is to make sure that we can continue to provide an exceptional academic and athletic experience to our extraordinary student athletes, and also be part of a competitive conference that is stable and also financially viable. He added what time frame exactly is unclear, but negotiations are ongoing. Okay, I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. I think this is definitely a two-track. Stanford's going on two tracks. Working internally with the Pac-12, obviously, to try to strike the best media deal. But that Kasef, the university professor who's part of the athletic administration, talking about how much less the Pac-12 makes in the Big Ten and how that affects the student athletes, the ability for the Stanford to excel at all those sponsored sports that they currently excel in, that it's so important to the university. And they've been considering conference realignment since the announcement of UCLA and USC joining the Big Ten. Yeah, we've known this. We've let you all know this. We've reported to you on this starting July 1st when this channel started in August 10th. This is not just about Pac-12 changing their conference. This is about this article. These statements were also about Stanford looking outward, right? Because we all know this. What I'm about to say is we all know this. Stanford, the Pac-12 cannot make up that $50 million difference with a conference realignment within their conference. In other words, conference expansion. I think the Pac-12 should add San Diego State to make sure Big 12 doesn't come through the back door and grab some of that Southern California market, right? We've discussed this. I peek around the corner. It's the perfect storm brewing for San Diego State to get a Power 5 invite because the mere threat of the Big 12 taking them, it's going to make Pac-12 act and grab San Diego State. That is our firmly held, strong belief here at Peek Around the Corner. But the Pac-12, if you read that article, the Stanford Daily, they're so far behind the Big Ten. That's why USC and UCLA made the call, right? We broke that news March 31st on USC, making the call to the Big Ten. This is why Oregon and Washington and Stanford has had ongoing discussions since June 30th with the Big Ten. Because that stratification line, that money revenue, it's going to be so difficult to compete. It's being spelled out here in the Stanford Daily. So this is not just about realigning the Pac-12, because none of that solves the issues that Stanford has. Being in debt, they can't take money out from all the other money that they make to pour into the athletic department. They talk about that in the article. So this is about Stanford. Two tracks. Looking at it, two different tracks. One internally in the Pac-12, the other externally. Looking out, still continuing their talks with the Big Ten. As you know, if you've been following the Peek Around the Corner, we said in July there was a decision window for the Big Ten for further expansion in between August 15th and October 15th. About October 12th, Big Ten pushed that pause button and decided against pursuing further Big Ten expansion at this time. But we also said Stanford, Oregon, Washington. They're going to keep swinging. They're going to keep talking to the Big Ten. And Stanford's going at this at two different tracks. This is not just about Stanford realigning the Pac-12 and calling it conference realignment instead of conference expansion. That's not what this article is about. It's about two different things. Stanford looking internally, making the best changes they can for the Pac-12, just in case they can't find that life raft out of there to the Big Ten, and also the other track. Continued talks with the Big Ten. Okay, those are my thoughts on it. We're going to keep tracking this story here at Peek Around the Corner. Give me your thoughts in the comments section below the video. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.